Run your next PB at the Gold Coast Marathon in 2023. Fast, flat and scenic. There is an event distance for everyone, from the full marathon to the kids 2 and 4 kilometre junior dash. Enter now at goldcoastmarathon.com.au.
That your skin can bring you so much pain. Now I hear you say you got the best of both ways. Won't you come and take a walk in my shoes and tell me if you take my place? Undercover of my skin, I've heard all your names. If it's all the same, I'll keep on walking.
Welcome to episode 291 of the Inside Running Podcast. I'm really looking forward to recording this week's show, as not only do we have our normal segments, but we also have a guest host who is making their Inside Running debut. But before that, welcome to the man who cracked the top 50 with a 49th place finish at last weekend's AV cross-country race in Bendigo, Julian Spence. How are you, Moose?
Thanks, mate. That sounded very scripted.
It was scripted.
Yeah, I can tell.
I like to be planned, and you know what? You're actually lucky to be on this week because Bree is a better athlete than you based on the results on the weekend. She finished 41st.
Well, we'll get into the women's field later. But yeah, no, last year I was 101st, I think. So to come 49th or 48th, was it? Whatever.
49th,
that's a pretty big improvement. I'm on the right trajectory.
Yeah, that is actually a pretty good improvement. So you're coming off your what did you have wrong?
Knee issues.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
I come off like that, and then I was only running a little bit, and I think at that point that was my longest run for a while. But I remember it was a really hard course, and it still is a really hard course. I remember thinking last year, even though I said I would tempo it, I couldn't go much faster, and this year pretty similar, except I didn't pretend to say that I tempoed it. I was going flat out, but very difficult. I've got some crazy DOMs today that you only get from really steep and uneven terrain, like cow paddock type shit where your ankles are just getting flipped every single time you hit the ground. It just, the old man in me, like the joints didn't like it. I've got really stiff ankles and yeah, it's just not used to it. Pretty beat up.
I don't know about you, Moose, but I'm pretty excited about tonight because most of our guest hosts that we have on, we sort of know their backstory. We've interviewed them before, but tonight I've met him a couple of times, raced against him, but I don't know a lot about his running journey. So it's probably one of the things that we've tried to do over the last 5 years of this podcast is raise the profile of athletes within the running community and telling the stories of the runners out there. So hopefully we can do that tonight. Have you had much to do with our guest?
No, I haven't, but I've been a fan of his work and we've kept an eye on him in results. He always seems to come out with some pretty good runs. I also heard a good story about him on a run one day, which made me like him even more.
Yeah,
I love his name.
Yeah, we've definitely mentioned him a lot in the podcast. So let's introduce him. So he's a sub 14-minute 5K runner, 2:17 marathoner. He won last year's Sydney 10 and finished second this year. And 2 days ago won the Noosa Half Marathon. Welcome to the Inside Running Podcast, Kieren Perkins.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Definitely looking forward to tonight. And it's been great listening to you guys over the last few years. And excited to get a chance to come on finally.
Yeah, we appreciate you giving up some time. And I know a little bit about you in terms of what your job is, which is quite unique, especially trying to combine that with the running. And obviously your name, like I've told Moose to hold fire on all the swimming gags because I'm sure you've heard them all before. And just, I guess, for reference for our international listeners, so Kieren Perkins is a famous swimmer here. He won the Olympic gold medal in the 1500 metres in 92. and the 96 Olympics. So I'm sure you cop a fair bit of that.
Yeah, I've had it my whole life, so I'm more than used to it. I've got to thank my parents for naming me after, one of the greatest swimmers in history that I can never live up to. So no matter how good my sporting achievements are, I'll never seem to crack his achievements.
So what do most people call you? Like, do they call you Perko, Kieren, KP, Superfish?
Milkman, Milky.
Yeah, the milkman hasn't really kicked off too much in Brisbane, but yeah, usually Perko at work or KP. So yeah.
Cool.
So Croaks doesn't get milkman. He doesn't know what he can't understand it. He's never twigged. Can you just explain what it means?
He's not impressed. He's not impressed.
Give us something, mate.
He doesn't understand it either.
No, Kieren Perkins was the guy off the milk ads. He had that full campaign where he was selling the the yellow one.
Farmer's Best or something?
No, it was like Rev or something like that. He was famous for his milk ads. He was anyway. God,
Pure Light start.
Pure Light. Oh yeah. Let me send something into the group. You guys.
It's obviously not a great. It's not a great gag from you, Moose.
Mate, I'm just working with some pretty low QI.
All right. Well, let's move on. So the first part of this will pretty much be an interview to find out a bit more about you, and I reckon we just start with your PBs. Now, I've got your World Athletics profile in front of me, and it looks like from the World Athletics profile, you've done these really results from 2019. Doesn't have a 1500 meter PB. Do you have a 1500 meter time?
No. So yeah, I didn't really do much 1500 meters. I've definitely been 30 years old now. I'm probably a bit too old for that event. But yeah, no PB for 1500.
Yeah.
And I think it says here 8:13. So I think that could have been my fastest time for 3K as well. So yeah, it's not a bad PB. So I'm happy with that.
Yep. And then 13:59 for 5K.
Yeah. So that was probably one of my biggest achievements in running. I really focused on that for a good 6 months. I remember in 2021, I kind of wanted to try and nail that PB, and I spent about 6 months kind of training with Brisbane Athletics squad in Brisbane with Jaden Russ. He really helped me kind of develop my track skills and kind of sharpen up for that 5K speed, which I kind of really haven't had in the past. So it definitely was a bit of a learning experience getting onto the track and getting smoked by the 18-year-olds in the squad, but obviously got there in the end.
And I love the progression of the 5K. 2020, you ran 14:30, 2021, 14:15, and then 2022, 13:59. So pretty much like 15 seconds every year off, which is, perfect progression there. 10K PB, 29:32, 2020. So was that like a Queensland state champs?
Yes, that was a Queensland State Champs on the Goldie. I think Ryan Gregson won that, in a blistering last lap from memory. But yeah, that was basically, I guess, a time trial race. We kind of just sat in a big pack, and I think with about 400 meters to go, Grego just kicked us all. And yeah, I just basically got home and got into 29:30s. But I have run low 29s in Launceston last year.
Yeah, so what's your 10K road PB? Because I know you ran real fast at Sydney 10 last year, which probably has like a slight asterisk against it. So what'd you run Sydney 10? Was it 28 high?
Yeah, I think it was 28:56. So I got 29:08 in Launceston last year. So that was my I guess official PB.
Yeah, solid times here. And half marathon, it's got here 67:07, but you ran faster than that on the weekend.
Yeah, no, I've got 64, I think it was 50 from Noosa last year. So that was my PB, and I still haven't probably updated that one. So I wouldn't mind maybe in the next 12 months, beating that one.
Yeah.
Croaks, so I reckon KP, though, just before we get to the marathon, I reckon he's a bit of a racer. So just what are some of your biggest wins over those distances?
Yeah, probably in the track stuff, I definitely haven't won too much. I'm usually just the guy who's holding on at the end of the pack and dragged along by the boys. But yeah, obviously Sydney 10 last year was a big win for me. It was probably the first time, of beat like a quality field. So I beat Kieren Tall. He shares the same good name as me, and I think third place. I can't remember who got third in that race, but yeah, there's definitely some big names.
Always good runners there. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the long session race last year, coming second last year to James Hansen. I basically had to outkick a number of guys like I think it was Riley Cox, Adrian Potter, and yeah, I think there's a number of other fast guys in that race. So it gave me a lot of confidence last year doing those couple of races, and actually realizing I can stick it with some of the top guys in the country.
And then Amsterdam Marathon 2:17:54, which well, a couple of questions on that. I'll talk more about your prep a little bit later when we sort of get into what sort of work you do. But I think, who was it? Chris Hamer, I think, ran quite well at Amsterdam, and Millie Clark, probably the only two Aussies that I know that have sort of done it recently and run well. Like, what were your thoughts on the course itself?
Yeah, it was actually a really good course. I know it's a bit underrated. It's not one of your traditional overseas marathons that people go to do, but I guess for me, I was deployed last year with the Army, so I kind of didn't really have the option of doing like, a number of those big races, especially when it comes to, entering. So I think I only entered with about 10 weeks to go. So I decided just to do Amsterdam because I basically just Googled what's a fast marathon around that time, and Amsterdam seemed to come up. So yeah, it was a really good course. Perfect conditions. It was, flat. I think it was about 15 degrees. And yeah, overcast. So it was one of those, European races where it starts at 9 a.m. in the morning and it's, not too hot. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. There's some elite females, Olympians who were there, and I basically just jumped on the girls' pack and tried to hang on for dear life.
Do you remember who was in that women's pack? I remember was it one of the DeBarbers?
Yeah, I believe it was DeBarber. She basically had herself, and I think there's another Olympian. I can't remember her name, but yeah, they had, I think, 3 African male pacers there. So yeah, it was awesome just to be able to sit behind those girls and try and stay out of their way, especially going into drink stations over there. As I think there's about 30 people in the lead pack up until halfway. So it was a bit of a cluster sometimes going to get water bottles and stuff. So I was just trying to, stay out of everyone's way.
It's a bit of a strange course, isn't it, mate? Like, you go along the canal, I think it is, and you're running on a footpath for a while. Pretty narrow, especially for a group that big. How do you find that?
Yeah, no, it definitely was. It was actually a bit windy as well along that footpath going out along the canal. So I guess the only benefit was that you kind of just try and find. I was at the back of the pack really, so I was just trying to sit behind people and not get that wind kind of. There was a strong wind gust coming through. Just for that part, so I was trying to stay out of I guess the wind and just get towed along, to be honest. But yeah, it's a really nice scenery over there. I'd recommend it if anyone has the opportunity to go over and do an overseas marathon. I'd definitely put it on your list. It's a pretty scenic course, and it's good for a party after, I hear.
Oh, you had Ayana. So she was one that broke the world record in the 10K at the 2016 Olympics. Remember that, Moose?
Yeah, she's a star.
Just went from a gun. Well, given you've just mentioned that you're in the Army and you're deployed for in the lead up to the Amsterdam Marathon, do you want to just talk us through? So, what's your role within the Defence Force, and talk us through how you train for this Amsterdam Marathon, because it's quite unique.
Yeah, so I've been in the Army now for 12 years, and I work. My job's like working in logistics, so. Yeah, basically looking after a lot of the equipment and parts that the Army uses. If you need to on deployment, order stuff from back from Australia. We help do that and potentially send it on to other spots around the world that need it. So yeah, I really enjoy it. It does make training hard sometimes because you just there's a lot of uncertainty. 1 minute you think you've got your year sorted and you've got it planned out, and next minute, like last year, I got the opportunity to get deployed overseas, and I took it because obviously it's a big part of my identity as the Army, so I chose that over staying here and doing the rest of the running calendar year. And
where were you based during that period?
Yes, I was based in Dubai for 6 months, so it was my second deployment. I guess in the last 4 years. So it's the second time I've been to the Middle East. I was in Iraq in 2019, just before COVID. And then, this time I spent my last 6 or 7 months in Dubai, so it definitely made training different. And I'm sure Moose knows from doing his marathon in Doha. It's the heat over there is on another level to what Australia is. It's constantly high 40s most days in summer, and even in the morning at 5 a.m. it's still mid 30s. So training over there was quite hot, and I think it definitely tests your body and your mind over there. It's quite easy to call it too hard and give up, but I really thought if I can persevere through this, it'll help me going into this year and next year.
So you on a base over there? And so how did you do all your training? Like how big's a loop of the base for you to do like a 2.5 hour long run?
Yeah. Obviously I can't say too much about like the location and stuff like that, but it's just a base over there that the Australians have worked out of for a number of years. And I think a loop of the base could be it might be 20 kilometers, but to be honest, I didn't really do the loop just because it was like probably too far to go without drinking water. A lot of the time when you're running 35 degrees, I'd usually try and stay near like just our normal like running route, just so I could have drink some water, because especially during summer, I was taking 2 bowls of water out with me on my runs and going through them pretty quick. So it was pretty flat as well, like Dubai. So I'm not sure if anyone's been there, but there's no hills or whatever. So I definitely I'm not a massive hill fan myself. If you look at my Strava, I do bugger all elevation, but it was just pancake flat. And definitely towards the end of my 7 months, the body was quite beat up from just no elevation, not changing the load on the body.
All concrete as well?
Yeah, full concrete on like a road. So it definitely, there's no grass tracks over there. It's just desert and sand. So it's not the best range, just a lot of concrete.
Anyone stupid enough to train with you?
No, I couldn't find any volunteers to train with me, unfortunately. So it was quite boring at times. In 2019 when I was in Iraq, at least I had a few friends. I had a bit of a run group over there from mostly guys from other countries that I was lucky enough to train with. So this time was a bit more, I guess I'd say, boring. I just had to do it on my own. But like anything here, kind of enjoy that first hour of the morning to yourself, and you can go out there and figure out what you're gonna do for the day, and it gives you some time to, I guess, have a think.
So what were you? Oh, sorry, you go, Moose.
Yeah, were you 9 to 5 during that period, or was it a bit random when you were working?
Yeah, deployments are always a bit random, to be honest. You always are, kind of on call, I guess, 24/7. So there was no, I guess, days are always, different, but usually be about 7:30 till 5:30 most days. But obviously some days were longer, some days might be shorter. So back home in Australia, we usually just work from 7 till like 4, so it's not too bad. And back home we get to do PT every day as well. So that's one of the benefits with I guess the Defence Forces. We get paid to keep fit and train every day. So I'm lucky enough that with my work they've given me the freedom to do running as my, I guess, PT every morning. Otherwise I'd be back on base doing sessions with, I guess, the guys I work with every day.
Yeah. So is there an unofficial or even an official serving member marathon record?
Not that I'm aware of. We do have an ADF Runners Association. So we've got a number of people who definitely love running, enjoy running in the Defence Force, and a part of our fitness test is we have to do a 2.4k run, and I think for the males it's under 11:15. So everyone kind of knows, everyone, I guess, from that knows about running, and kind of my PB is 6:52, or 6:32, sorry. So I guess most of the guys on base think I'm a bit of a, I guess, freak, because I guess the average time would be 9 or 10 minutes for a 2.4 kilometer run.
Yeah, I mean, off the top of my head, Rowan Walker he's run 2:18, I think. So you've beaten him. Is there anyone that you know of that's been serving, that's been elite before? Cassie Fiend, I mean, on the female side, maybe?
Yeah, probably Cassie Fiend on the female side. On the male side, I'm not too sure. I don't think there is anyone else that's probably, I guess, that I'm aware of that's beaten, I guess, my times. But yeah, like there is, a number of good runners, but I guess.
So you're the GOAT then?
Yeah. I wouldn't give myself that title.
Hey, Kieren, what were your goals going into Amsterdam? And obviously, in those conditions, like you wouldn't have been able to do the long marathon sessions at goal marathon pace. So were you just doing them to marathon effort, or how did you work around that?
Yeah, that was probably one of the hardest things that I kind of had to, I guess, learn was to not focus on the pace on my watch, which I guess as most elite runners, it's hard not to kind of like get too consumed with, or it's hard to, it's quite easy to get, consumed with the pace you're running at. But I had to really focus on just trusting that the heat benefits were going to play dividends, with my training. So it helped having Raf Ball, my coach. He kind of guided me through that process and reassured me that, it's not always about the pace you run at, just to, I guess, go off feel and go off, I guess, heart rate more than just seeing what the watch says, because you can't run sub 3 minute Ks. I wasn't doing my 1K efforts at sub 3 minute K pace because, you just can't run that kind of times over there in the heat, especially in summer. So yeah, it was something I had to deal with and kind of, adjust with my training.
Yeah, and a bit less mileage than you would have done at home if you were preparing for a marathon?
Yeah, so obviously with work, it does make it hard. I wasn't able to probably do the mileage I'd like to do back home, and especially with recovery as well. Like you couldn't, there's no ice baths or saunas on base to kind of get your recovery in. So even getting massages and stuff like that, yeah, it was very hard to get. So I kind of had to really just back it off a bit, but then also I did do some treadmill sessions as well, which kind of helped get some elevation and kind of do some speed work in the, I guess, cooler temperatures of a gym.
Yeah. Any more questions, Moose, on the marathon stuff?
How long has Raf coached you?
Yeah, so I met Raf for the first time when I was in WA. So I was posted to Perth for 3 years from 2015 to 2018. And I actually was a bit of a hobby jobber back then. I'd only run maybe once or twice a week. So I decided to go to join this run squad and train up for a half marathon. I think it was in 2017. I ran 1:19, and yeah, I was coached by Raf, so he probably didn't take too much notice of me back then because I was no good. But yeah, I kind of first met him back then, and obviously he's a great running mind, and he's forgotten more than I know about running. Yeah, it's been great having his kind of knowledge for like the last 9 months. He's been able to help me train for I guess Amsterdam, and now with Gold Coast coming up.
Well, maybe take us then, like how you got into running, because as I said at the start of the show, like your World Athletics profile only has results starting in like 2019, and at that point you would have been like mid to late 20s, so not super young. So yeah, tell us a little bit about that start for you and what you were doing before you ran.
Yeah, before I ran, I was probably more focused on, I guess, like military kind of, I'd say, fitness. I tried out for the Special Forces with the SAS twice, and I wasn't successful, unfortunately, with that. So I kind of picked myself up and said I want to focus on a sport that allows you to kind of get the rewards for the effort you put in. With Special Forces selection in the Defence Force or Army, it's it's based off what someone else kind of I guess might think about yourself. So I kind of just wanted to focus on a sport that like running, I guess, where you can basically control your own destiny. And that's kind of led me, like I was doing all that kind of training up until my mid-20s, and then I think I started about 26 getting into running, and I've just slowly progressed from about a 35-minute runner down to breaking 30 a couple of years ago.
You I just was thinking, you're such an athlete. I mean, you got a pretty strong rig on you compared to most runners. That's probably because of the Army stuff, I'm guessing. Have you ever thought about getting into the physical roles in the Army, like the soldiering, and because we're obsessed with the SAS stuff, like watching TV. Did that ever taken your attention?
Mate, send the times he's running. See how much has he improved. Why would he want to go and do that? He wants to run. He wants to break your PB.
Mate, they're superstars over there. That's all glory.
Yeah, no, I did. Yeah, when I was young and very ambitious, I kind of I said I'd try out for the SAS twice, and that kind of consumed all my training for the first few years of my army career. So yeah, I was very driven with that, and I got basically told in my second attempt I was at day 17 on the SAS selection course 4 days before the finish, and I got removed. So you either remove yourself or get removed, and I got removed. So I kind of yeah, I was just I thought I could either wait a couple of years and go back again and try for it again, or take up a sport that kind of allows allows me to get the results. But just in saying that, if you do ever want an SAS person to come on, my good friend Ben Pronk is the former commanding officer of the SAS. He is an avid listener of your show, and we speak quite regularly actually. So he's actually written a couple of books, and has his own podcast. Is that
Dan's brother?
Dan's brother? Dan Pronk. Yeah. So this is Ben. So he's equally successful, and I was actually messaging him today, telling him I'm on the show. So yeah, I think you should definitely get him on.
Oh, that's funny.
He'll be a great interview.
I've listened to him before, actually, on a podcast.
Yes.
He was on they interview soldiers, and he was talking. Does he have a medical supplies company now?
I don't know Dan. I know Ben, the brother. So Ben was the commanding officer. So basically the head of the SAS when I was there. So
right.
He's
Interesting.
Him and Dan are both great guys, and but I haven't met Dan myself. I've just met Ben.
Yeah. No, he talks about his brother a lot, though.
Yes. Yeah.
I thought I listened to one with Ben. I think I might have.
You probably have. They do a lot of podcasts together, but Ben's basically taken up running. He used to be a former runner, like I think back when he first joined the Defence Force and joined the SAS, but he's taken it up a couple of years ago. Now he's run a sub-3 marathon in Perth, just I think recently, and ran I think it was 120 or 119 actually on the weekend at the Sydney half like a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, wow. He's not the one who failed you on the course, is he?
I don't know. He's the guy who says yelling at the end, but I don't know. It could have been. So I'll have to hit him up and ask him if he's on the show.
So you got to day 17. Like how many days until you would have been through?
So I think it finishes on day 20 or 21. So yeah, it's a pretty brutal course, and it's total opposite to running. You have to do spend hours out practicing your land navigation and carrying packs that up to 50 kilos. So I think that's probably why I've got a decent bone structure on me now. I haven't had too many bone injuries, luckily, because I think all that running with weight kind of in the past, has probably helped it now.
But that being said, I'd imagine that training, 17 days, they put you under a lot of mental stress as well as physical stress. And do you think that training has actually helped you in races from a mental point of view?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. With, I guess, running, it's all about, peak performance and, getting yourself to having the best conditions to run, your fastest times. Whereas all that training's kind of for, soldiering's about being in the worst conditions and trying to, perform under terrible conditions. So they love to test, your mental resilience, when it's pouring rain or when you haven't had much sleep. So yeah, it's definitely kind of allowed me to, I guess, have an appreciation that running probably, even though it can be hard at times, it's not that hard, because it's all going to end quite, you go out for an hour run and it's over very easily. Whereas that kind of training, the course goes on for 21 days and it's basically almost, 21 days of almost non-stop torture.
Yeah, nothing you do in running would be as hard as that.
Yeah.
So do you feel like maybe the we'll call them it's hard to call it failures, but the non-passing of the course a couple of times, do you feel like you almost have a point to prove now? It's sort of like a chip on your shoulder that you want to achieve something physically that you haven't?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. I think being someone who's very competitive, I guess I wasn't used to failing, courses and failing stuff. It's probably not how I was, I guess, brought up. So I guess, it's definitely taught me, a lot of about resilience and, I've listened to enough kind of podcasts since that you realize there's plenty of guys out there who fail at stuff in life, but it's kind of about how you pick yourself up, and it, just because you fail something doesn't, have to define the rest of your life. You can kind of kick on and find something else that you're passionate about and give that a good crack.
Yeah. Well, look at Moose. Moose was in the Defence Force. He was in the Navy. I think he lasted about 6 weeks.
Please don't.
Look where he is now.
Oh, fuck. I'm so embarrassed.
Normally I can picture Moose in the Navy.
Yeah, I used to iron my shit so good.
That was probably the hardest part for me, is having to do all that kind of stuff, the ironing and the making the beds. That's for me definitely something I struggled with when I first joined at 18. I was kind of spoon fed at home, and I was into my surf by 7 growing up, so I was quite into my trained twice a day, but the kind of the mental side of ironing your cams, I had no idea how to do that kind of stuff or make a bed. I used to just chuck the sheets over making my bed. So that was probably the hardest part I found adapting to the defence, not so much the physical training.
And what have been your different roles in defence? So like you said, you're in logistics now, but I'm guessing you've had a few different roles?
No, I've done that job for 12 years. So as I said, I did try out for Special Forces, but I've had the same job basically since I've joined. So I haven't changed jobs. Otherwise, I'd have to go back to, doing different training, and you kind of obviously don't want to lose, your rank and all that stuff. If you kind of work yourself up to a bit of a, I wouldn't say cushy job, but a bit of having a bit of, seniority about yourself. And then if you change jobs, you kind of lose that and go back to, square one.
Yeah. So what do you reckon your best event is?
I'm not too sure. All my PBs, fairly, I think, consistent. I used to kind of just say depending on what PB I got was kind of like my favorite events. But I think maybe I really enjoy a 10K. That's probably one of my favorite events to do, because it goes for a relatively short period, and but it also requires a bit of mind games about it. It's not like the 5K where you kind of just balls out and it's over in 15 minutes. The 10K, you got to kind of play it smart and have a bit of, I guess, tactics about it. So I'd say play the 10K, but I do want to kind of start transitioning into that marathon, I guess, in the future, and try and lower the time down from 2:17, hopefully, to maybe, a bit lower in the future.
Yeah, 2:14 low, I reckon.
No, I think Moose is a bit better than me, so yeah.
Well, I am at the moment, mate.
So you've only done two marathons, haven't you? Like, you debuted on the sunny coast in 2021, where you came third in 2:28:45. Like, that would have been a pretty rough day for you, I'd imagine, based on the times that you were running over shorter distances. What did you learn from that experience?
It was a bit of a wake up call, I guess. I kind of, obviously you respect the marathon and you know what it takes, but I probably didn't, I guess, focus on my, long runs enough. That's probably something I look back on. I think, I knew I had the probably speed, but I didn't probably have, I didn't really have any coaching, back then. It probably would have, helped to have, a coach to kind of guide you through the process. And, all the gels and taking that on as well, nutrition. I didn't really have any idea about that. I thought, if I just take a gel every 8Ks or whatever, I'll be fine. But, I got it to about 30Ks and I couldn't take on any more nutrition because I just, my body wouldn't let me. So I think all those kind of things you just learn from. But I definitely, I probably knew what I was going to be in for. I come about 35Ks, but I think, once you actually happens to you and the legs fell off, the wheels fell off about 35Ks, and I kind of just ended up jogging, I think, about 3:45s for the last 6K home. But before that, I was running, I think it was early 3:20s. It didn't feel overly that hard, I got to about 20Ks and I thought this is quite easy. And then, it just sneaks up on you. And then next minute, the wheels fall off.
Yeah. Hey, Kieren, you're running, I'm kind of interested in the Burt squad that you train with, and are you posted to Brisbane at the moment?
Yeah, so I'm not in Burt squad anymore. So I've kind of started doing my own training this year with my friend John Paulson. So he's one of the guys I train from Brisbane, and another guy called Tim Fisk, but he's out injured at the moment. So I've kind of just been training with John at the moment. But yeah, I was with Bert's squad the last few years, and yeah, they're a great squad, and definitely kind of helped shape me into the runner I am today. They've got a great guy, Peter Bracken, who leads them, and but yeah, I've kind of just done my own kind of training this year, just with a couple of I guess my mates who are quite similar speed to me.
Yeah, it's good. There's a few groups forming now in Brisbane. Sounds like the scene's getting stronger up there.
Definitely.
We had a guest to our long run one day, young fella, Matthew Hansen, and
Hanso, yep.
Yeah, he was full of stories, and he said you were pretty erratic with your training, so you would sort of just rock up and do whatever you sort of felt like that morning without any plan. Was that you for a while up there?
Hans, I think you stitched me up a bit there. I mean, sometimes, yeah, that can be true. I think a few Brisbane runners actually a bit like that. We just used to turn up on the day and kind of do our own session. When I used to train with Adam Fogg a couple of years ago, we kind of plan it on the day, or maybe plan it like the day before. So me and him kind of we didn't really have, I guess, a coach back then. So I guess one of the luxuries of not having a coach, you just kind of rock up and figure out what you're going to do on the day and how you're feeling. But it's worked out kind of well in the past, just being able to, give yourself your own sessions, and yeah, if you want go a bit easier, you can. But I've had good training partners like Adam Fogg in the past, and another guy, Tim Fisk. So they keep me honest, those young blokes.
Yeah. And what's the Brisbane running scene like? Do the various groups get together for like a Sunday run, or everyone sticks to themselves? And like, where does everybody do their long runs up there? I've noticed at the moment you sort of do some training on the Sunshine Coast, some in Brisbane. Is that because of work, or you just drive to different training locations?
No, so my girlfriend and family are up in the sunny coast, so it's about an hour north of Brisbane. So I usually head up on the weekends and enjoy the sunny coast. So I grew up in Caloundra up here. It's a beautiful spot. I know Moose has been to Noosa a few times, and he loves it up there. So it's definitely a good part of the world. A bit warmer than Anglesea, that's for sure.
Yeah, funnily enough, heading back this week actually. Coming up. Yeah, you're going to be up there?
Noosa?
Yeah.
I'm not. I might have to make the trip up there to see
come up for a run. Come up for a tempo.
Yeah.
I'll run.
You'll be tempoing. You'll be doing an easy run, Moose.
Yeah, so I'll rent a bike.
Yeah, but the running scene's good in Brisbane. There's lots of kind of clubs that have popped up in the last probably 5 years. And yeah, like going out along the Brisbane River every. I do basically all my training along the Brisbane River. To be honest, I'm a bit lazy. I live near South Bank, so I kind of just hop out of bed and run along the river each day. So I get a lot of shit from the guys in my kind of group that I run with about doing less elevation than everyone else in the squad. So yeah, it's probably something I need to improve on, is getting the elevation up and not just run around the Brisbane River and kind of just calling a hill going over the Story Bridge or that.
Don't you get sick of all the concrete?
I do have a grass loop actually. Out the back of our base, there's this nice grass loop that I run on probably about once or twice a week. It's about a k long, so I do a little bit of grass running. But I should probably do some more. But my mate John, who I run with, he owns a coffee shop, and it's probably got the best coffee in Brisbane actually. Woolshed Coffee, if anyone wants to check it out when they're in Brisbane. It's a great coffee there, so I kind of get my arm twisted into running from there a lot.
Yeah, I'm looking at your Strava. It's pretty boring stuff. There's a lot of out and back going on. Especially when you go to the coast.
Yeah. But it's along the ocean, Moose. So I don't mind a bit of out and back when it's looking at the beach.
Bit of Blue Doctor.
Yeah.
It's not the same there.
It's definitely not the same still. I think it's a bit colder now where Moose is.
Yeah. Brisbane seems like a funny place to run. Like everyone seems to run in the one spot based on Strava.
Yeah,
like that definitely. New farm, is that like the suburb?
Yeah, so there's New Farm Park where I do probably all my sessions. So it's just little concrete kind of concrete loop that goes for about 890 meters, and I think everyone who's someone kind of does their sessions each week around there. So Bird Squad kind of do their sessions around there. I've done my sessions around there for a number of years as well, so it's a good spot. But yeah, you're definitely right. You go out for a run and you're guaranteed to see something in Brisbane along the river.
Yeah.
Kieren, another reason we got you on, obviously we wanted to hear sort of your backstory, but also you are preparing for Gold Coast Marathon in like 5 weeks. How's the prep going for that, and what are your goals leading in?
Yeah, so the prep's been pretty good. I can't obviously you have your hiccups with illness and stuff like that, but I've had no injuries, which is great. So I've been kind of coached by Raf, obviously, as I said before, and he's been setting me out my training program, and I've usually been averaging anywhere between 140 to 160 kilometers a week for the last kind of 10 to 12 weeks. So yeah, I'm feeling good. Hopefully I can kind of update my PB from 217, maybe shave a few seconds or minutes off that, depending on how good the run is. But I think listening to your podcast, I think it was last week when you were talking about a half marathon before the marathon, I definitely felt I didn't have that same kind of speed as what I did in the past with the half marathon. So I'm taking it as a good indication that I didn't do a PB on the weekend into my marathon.
Yeah, don't worry about that. don't worry at all. Like, if you've been doing the right marathon work, then you shouldn't run a good half. That's my theory.
Was that all out for you on the weekend though?
So I basically set kind of a plan out to go out between, I think it was 3:06 to 3:10, and just do that for 14 Ks, and then depending on how you felt like after that, he said you can come home a bit stronger. So I followed the plan. So I didn't really go full tilt on the weekend. I kind of wanted to use it as a bit of a session. I kind of got told, I guess, during the week there wasn't going to be, I guess, the Super League guys come into it. I think they're all heading down to Launceston in a few weeks, so I kind of pick it up and just use it as a good training run for Goldie. But there was a bloke that I ran with who was actually with me for the first 10 kilometers, and ended up kind of pushing me more than what I probably expected in the race.
Yeah.
Who was that? Who comes second?
Check the agenda, Moose.
Yeah, Alex Harvey. His name I didn't know who he was before the race. But yeah, I kind of was a bit surprised when he was, hanging with me. I could hear him breathing heavily about probably 8 Ks or so into it. So I thought I dropped a 3-minute K at about K10 just to kind of see if he'd fall off, and luckily he kind of did. So I kind of did that 3-minute K and kind of went back to the plan of running 3:08s after.
Just shake him off.
Yeah.
Any more questions, Moose, or should we get into some training weeks?
We'll ask him questions through the show, I reckon.
Yeah. All right. Who wants to go first? Do you want to do your week, Moose, and then we'll come back to
I can.
AP?
I'll be quick.
All right.
I'll be quick. Pretty average week. So I was coming off like a bad back. Flared up. Gratian Road, worked a lot. Was still working on the Monday. Dropped the van back into the store. Had to take all our gear out of there. So I just stick into 30-minute stuff. So I just ran 30 minutes Monday, and then 30 minutes Tuesday. On Wednesday, ran with Toby. He was his first run back, 35 minutes. And went up to 45 the next day. Ran with Toby and Ellie on Friday, and Toby brought his shit dog along. So that fucking hell. This brings a Kelpie, just pulls on the leash the whole time, running around. I said, just let that thing off, get it out of here. So once it got off the leash, it was all right, but still, he's the kind of guy who doesn't give his dog a command. He just fucking yells at it as loud as he can. So real relaxing stuff on that run. He had anxiety the whole run, hoping his dog wasn't going to run away. The next day we went to Bendigo cross country. So I was here. I didn't know how this was going to go. I knew the course from last time. I knew that even if I took it pretty easy, it was going to be a hard run. You don't have cross country in Queensland, do you, Milky?
No, we wouldn't know what cross country is out here. No, I actually think there is actually a cross country race going on. I think Aiden Hobbs, one of our local Brisbane runners here, he won a race on the weekend. But yeah, definitely not for me.
Nah. I haven't seen anything up that way anyway. Maybe some stuff from Aiden.
They do have a series up there, but it's not like AV. Well, to be honest, there's no other state that has anything like AV winter season.
Yeah. St Anne's is a winery out near Bendigo, so it's a fair trip. Bree and I, we left at 8:45, 9 o'clock in the morning to get out there. Geelong took a bus out, so they picked us up on the way. Bree's parents are on the way, so we dropped Pia off there, jump on the bus. Had a good little bus trip. I was about 10 minutes in, got bus sick, had to change Kieren out from the front to sit in the front seat. So that was embarrassing. Then got there. Now, there was a pretty big field. Let me just check the results. Let me see how many. There was 392 people in the men's race on the front line, and I reckon we're Div 1, so we should be on the very front, but we're pretty realistic. None of us in the team knew we were going to be in the top 20, so we kind of just stood back, maybe third back from the line. But off the line, it was insane how quick people run. The first 200 meters, we went from probably 40th position to 100th, in 200 meters. It's like the old fucking NCAA footage you see of him just flogging himself to the first corner. That happened here as well. I'm like, I couldn't go any quicker than I'm going, and I've been passed by 60 people. And it's wild. It's like you have to see it to kind of understand it, or to be in the middle of the pack. So we got turned around a corner at 200 meters, and I looked up, and I saw, who did I see in front up there? I saw Lachlan Hurd leading the field. Brett Robbo was up there as well. So who else did I see that day? And they were miles in front. And I'm like, I'm never going to be in a front pack of cross country ever again. I know it now, that there is just the speed required to get off the line, as well as the overall fitness to keep up. But even just being there at the start, it's just fast. So that was, I got myself into a position that was comfortable for me. I knew I was going to have a crack, I wasn't going to tempo this. I knew it was a real battle between the Geelong crew, because we're all semi-similar in terms of where we're at. So we actually had a different leader of the Geelong pack. Everyone in the pack basically led the Geelong race at some point. So it was pretty competitive. That was fun. When you're coming 50th, you want to chase everyone down and get as many points for the team. But there was a race within the Geelong crew, which made it really fun. I ran pretty even. It got hard about, I'm going to say, 5K. I went up a few hills, and I got dropped by Steve Deneen, who I was running with. So we went up a hill, and he took off. That was a sign for me that maybe I wasn't going to have the best finish to the race, but everyone else was going backwards as well. So yeah, I was running with a bloke, Ryan Cramery, one of Brady's mates from Bendigo. He runs for Geelong now. He's just come along in leaps and bounds. So it was cool to see someone like him be at a position in an AV field that he's never been in. That's one good thing about racing, even when you're not fit, is you get to see others racing. It's fun. And yeah, we just kind of worked our way to the finish, came 40th, 49th for me, 50th for him, and felt like a pretty good run. I was pretty happy with it, considering I was even across the board. But I'm looking at the times from last year at the moment. I ran 27:13. 27:13 would have had me in 49th place last year, and this year it has me in 49th place. Can you believe that? That's unbelievable. So it is what it is. The one good thing, I got through unscathed. So I wore the Saucony Endorphin Pro, which was the idea was that it was going to help my Achilles out because it's plated, it's got a bit more shoe, a little bit more support for my Achilles over a pretty steep course, which is like the opposite of what you want for a bad Achilles. And I got through the race and didn't feel my Achilles once, but having that shoe on with no real grip and being high stack off the ground on like cow paddocks, that was terrible. My ankles rolled about 40 times. I was taking these big Bertha corners. Like I'd go from one side of the field to the other. I couldn't turn around a corner. And then when I was going downhill, I was like just sliding all over the place. So it was, I didn't feel like I would have come any further up with spikes, but perhaps this would have been better. Geez, you got an elephant out the back, Perko.
No, Russell.
That's on me. That's on
Russell
me.
coughing up a fur ball.
Russell, fuck,
Yeah.
mate. Settle down.
It's getting old.
Yeah, so that was the race, and I was cooked at the end. And next day, woke up, didn't quite have the DOMs yet, so I snuck in 90 minutes just on a long run. It rained the whole way. It was slippery. It was shit. And then by the time I finished, I could feel my quads, hammies, glutes, and everything except my Achilles. So really good result for me. I'll take DOMs any day of the week over a bad tendon. And I'm sitting here now with pretty sore muscles. So it's a sign that I worked really hard, and the course was extreme on the weekend.
It almost sounded though with your Achilles moves, and we spoke about the other week, that because you'd had a bit of time off, it almost like your Achilles had sort of seized up, and then when you started running it was niggly, but now that you're sort of running a bit more, it's sort of got better.
Yeah, and I kept things real cruisy. Like I didn't go more than 45 minutes for about 10 days because I was just scared of it flaring up. You listen to Mottram's interview, bloke had like 2 or 3 Achilles surgeries over a 2-3 year period. Like I'm just so scared of that injury because I've seen so many careers ended by it that I just don't take any chances when Achilles comes along.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think you're right. It was just getting back into running again, and now it should be all good.
So a big week coming up once you get over DOMs.
It won't be that big. Like I don't have tons of stuff planned. I'm still sore. Like I can't push things when I'm sore. I'm going to train with Ali Wednesday. We'll do a workout, a fartlek, and then on Saturday go to Noosa. So hopefully have a week of not working, and then I can train pretty good up there. That's the plan anyway.
What's your plan for Gold Coast? Are you going to run up there at all? Like
I'm going to do the half. And I'm probably going to I'll run as fast as I can, and if I can break 70 minutes, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think you'll do that.
I'll probably end up running with the lead women at that pace.
Yeah.
Because that will be around that. And yeah, I mean, Ali's running. I said I'll try and beat her. So that'll be my goal.
Head to the Gold Coast for a fast, flat race this July. Whether you're looking for a personal best time or a winter break with the family, the Gold Coast Marathon on the 1st and 2nd July has it all. The weekend of events includes a distance for everyone: the Gold Coast Marathon, CPL Wheelchair Marathon, ASICS Half Marathon, Southern Cross University 10K, CPL Wheelchair 10K, Gold Coast Airport 5K, and the Health and Wellbeing Queensland 2 and 4 kilometre junior dash. It's fast, it's flat, and it's scenic. Enter now at goldcoastmarathon.com.au. Nice one. All right, Perko, do you want to take us through your week, which would have, I guess, race week for you?
Yeah, race week. So I was actually a bit sick coming into race week. I just had a mild flu, so it wasn't anything too bad, but it kind of I was meant to do a session Wednesday, actually. Raph had a big session there. He took out for me, luckily. So, yeah, Monday morning, I just got out for 8 kilometres at 4:28, just along the river, just the out and back one. And, nothing special on my loops. They're usually pretty boring, but at least you're looking at the river, so it's somewhat, makes it a bit easier. And then the afternoon was 7Ks at 4:30s as well. Tuesday, I did a small session, so I met up with my training mate John Paulson and one of the girls who I run with as well, Murphy Rankin, who's a up and comer on the Brisbane running scene. We met up and we jogged down to New Farm Park and just did I did 8 by 1 minute on, 1 minute off, and I was still feeling a bit kind of under the weather in this session, so I just decided originally I planned to do what was it, 250 for the ons, and then I think 308s for the offs. But I ended up kind of just jogging the offs after about 3 sets in, because I just realized that I wasn't going to have probably a good session. I didn't really want to push myself to, too hard in the session. That probably, didn't really mean much if I wasn't feeling, my best. So I ended up just kind of, running about 330s for the floats, and about 250s for most of the ons.
308s you were prescribed, mate. How specific?
Yeah, Raf's pretty specific on his training. So
that's pretty good going if you can hit that exact pace. You're doing real well.
Yeah. Well, luckily, I think me and John, my training partner, have a New Farm Park loop down pat. So it's a bit of a anyone who's done New Farm Park knows it's half of it's downhill, and then the other half's kind of like has probably one big steep uphill. Well, it's not that steep to be honest, but it's a bit steeper than what I guess the rest of the track is. But yeah, it's definitely takes a bit of getting used to New Farm Park. It's
How far is the loop?
890 meters. So okay. I think it is. Yeah. So it's definitely it's one of the popular loops for my group that I train for now, and definitely the Burt squad. Those guys, my old squad, love training around there.
Is it dirt?
No, it's concrete. So hard concrete. It's actually
love concrete actually. Up there, Moose. Love concrete.
Queenslanders and concrete.
Yeah, that's. We don't have the trails. I think everyone's allergic to trails, actually, especially if you live in the city. You don't like driving out towards the trails. Yeah.
I'm not sure you're allowed to call it a park if it's concrete. That should be there should be a rule against that.
You'll have to talk to council about one, Moose. So. Yeah, so Tuesday afternoon, I just got out. I think what was the afternoon for that? Just 8Ks at 4:35 that afternoon. So basically nothing special for that one either. And then Wednesday morning. Sorry,
Perko, when you jog, do you contain yourself with heart rate, or just go by feel or pace? Do you keep it under a pace or over a pace?
I just got a feel, to be honest. I don't look at my pace or heart rate. I'm not too. I never really check my heart rate ever. When Raf first started coaching me for Amsterdam, he was sending me all this heart rate stuff, and I really struggled with it because I was having to look at my watch all the time, and I think I found that quite hard. But luckily now, I think he's learned just to give me a pace instead of heart rate, and I kind of can. I think he knows me well enough to kind of judge me off pace. And most of his stuff's quite challenging anyway. So I'd probably be a bit worried if I was looking at my heart rate half the time.
Yeah, that's a good point. Looking at your watch, like you have to when you're doing threshold stuff because it changes so quickly.
Yeah. No, definitely. So Wednesday morning, I was meant to do a session. I was meant to do back-to-back sessions actually this day. But I ended up just jogging because I was still feeling a bit crook. So I got out for 13.5 Ks at 4:29s in the morning, and then in the afternoon I got out for just 8 Ks on a little grass loop that I like to go on. So it was just 450s, so nothing special along there, but it's a good grass loop. If anyone in Brisbane wants to check it out, they can go onto my Strava and have a look. Des Connor Park. It's a bit underrated, but it's a good little grass loop that we have up here in Brisbane.
So you were supposed to do 2 workouts this day?
Yeah. What was the workout? I think it might have been 45 minutes at 3:30. So it wasn't going to be a super hard workout, but it was still. Raf likes to give the midweek kind of long runs, and he likes to kind of make him a bit of a challenge. So it's not something that I've kind of done too much before that, but he usually knows me well enough to kind of toe the line where I'm not too spent. But it would have been, I think, 45 minutes at 3:30, so it probably would have been achievable. But
then what was the other workout? So it was 2 on the one day?
No, it was a Tuesday and a Wednesday session.
Oh, okay, yeah, sorry, back to back.
Gotcha. Back to back days.
Gotcha.
So and then Friday I just got out. Thursday morning I'm up to. So Thursday morning I just got out for a run, just 12 Ks at 4:30. So I went for a run with my mate Tim Fisk. I think he's run 29:30, and he was my training partner last year. He's been injured for about the last kind of 6 or 7 months. So I think once he gets firing again, he'll be running probably low 29s and beating me. So we got out for just an easy jog together and caught up because we hadn't I haven't seen him for about the last 4 months because he's been out with I think a bit of a stress fracture in his shin, I think it was. So yeah, that was good to see him again. And then I didn't have an afternoon session that day. And then Friday morning, got out for 7Ks at 4:40 up the coast. And yeah, that led us into race day Saturday morning. So Saturday morning, yeah, we had the Noosa half, and yeah, it was good to kind of get up there and get racing again for a half. I hadn't done one for a fair while. So yeah, the race kind of, you know, went to plan for me. I wanted to go out there and kind of be a bit conservative, not, you know, go for it for the whole way. I wanted to, yeah, as I said, go between 3:06 to 3:10 and for about 14 Ks. And then if I felt like it, Raf said, you know, you can kind of kick down the last 6 or 7K. But I ended up getting to, yeah, so 10K. And then I had, I was running with Alex, the guy who got second. And I just, yeah, didn't want to kind of, I guess, carry him around for the second lap or him, you know, potentially be there at the end and give him a sniff. So I decided to just put a bit of a surge in, 10Ks in, and just, yeah, after that, I went back to running, yeah, about 3:06s to, you know, I think 3:08s until about 14 Ks. And yeah, I was meant to kind of kick it down from there, but I just didn't really, I don't know, I just didn't really have the, I guess, the fight that sometimes I do have. I really enjoy racing a lot of times and enjoy the fight, but I just didn't really have that kind of motivation to go out and really kind of kick it down. So I ended up just, you know, trying to hold that same pace. And yeah, I averaged about 3:07s for the half marathon. So it's probably a good marathon workout for me.
Now, what's your plans looking ahead? So in terms of marathon pace, that kind of thing, how'd this line up?
Yeah, so I haven't actually fully discussed the pace yet with Raf. I'm kind of hoping to probably maybe go about 2:16, 2:15 kind of pace for Gold Coast. But I'm actually flying to Perth next week to do a week training in WA, and yeah, I'll run with Raf and his squad and kind of you know, probably have a good chat then about what he thinks I can go. So yeah, he's got some big workouts planned, and yeah, I'm sure he'll probably test me, and you know, I guess from there we'll be able to maybe lock in a pace that we think I might be able to hold. But yeah, I'd like to ideally, you know, hold something that, yeah, would be around 2:16-ish.
Can get a bit lonely at Gold Coast around that pace, like
yeah,
pack wise. I remember last year seeing a few blokes isolated early.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I think that's probably the problem sometimes with Gold is we don't have, you know, in the elite men's field, we don't have too many paces running that kind of obviously time. So yeah, I'm just hoping maybe someone like, you know, Tim Vincent or whatever. I'm not sure what he's going to run, but if he's going to run, you know, about the 2:15 kind of time, I might try and go out with him. I think guys like Ed Goddard will be going for it, so I'm not going to have you know, any chance of keeping up with him at the start. But yeah, maybe like someone like Tim Vincent, if they go out, you know, maybe 2:15 pace, it could be a chance to work together.
Yeah. And if you look past Gold Coast in terms of another like big overseas marathon?
No, not yet. So I think maybe I might look at one later in the year, but I haven't really, haven't really thought about it too much. I just want to, get Gold Coast kind of done, and then from there I'll probably assess how the body pulls up, and you know, maybe early next year might look at going over to Japan and doing like Osaka or something like that. Yeah.
And just on your training week, because obviously we got you on a week where you were racing, so it was a little bit different to what you'd normally do. So do you do, so obviously easy Monday, a double, and then a session Tuesday, and always a session Wednesday as well?
Only for this probably marathon block I've started kind of doing the sessions Wednesday. Usually it's like, I think the week before was about a 30K run, and I think it was about an hour effort of maybe 3:40s to, you know, 3:35s to 3:40s. So yeah, I think I've started doing like the 30K kind of midweek long runs. So I don't know if you call that a session or if it's just a bit of a higher intensity, but yeah, usually if I wasn't doing a marathon, I'd just be doing an easy Wednesday. So I'm usually one of those people who just does 2 sessions a week normally.
And so then when you're in the marathon block, you'll do the longer Wednesday with like a little bit of intensity, and then what do you do, another session Friday and then a hard long run, or?
Yeah, so I think it usually alternates between Wednesday hard and Sunday hard. So if I go hard Wednesday, then usually the Sunday will be just an easy long run. Or if it's a hard Sunday long run, then usually the Wednesday will just be, an easy one. So I usually try and keep it 2 hard sessions a week. And then, if I'm doing 2 hard sessions, then the long run's probably going to be, have a little bit of effort in there. But there's not too much elevation if you look at my runs, though there's probably should be some intensity because, the elevation's definitely not there for me.
Yeah. And then, interrupted your training week. So then Sunday, because that was a Saturday race, Sunday you got out for an hour by the looks of it.
Yeah, just an hour, So I actually pulled up really well after the race. I'm not sore at all. So it helps having the Alpha Flies, to wear. So, I kind of pulled up well yesterday and just got out for 13 Ks at 4:36 yesterday. Actually,
very good.
So I think that was yesterday, it was an hour yesterday.
Good week. Always good when you win a race.
Yeah. How's that course?
Noosa's good. It's pretty flat. And this time of year, it's perfect conditions up there. It was about, I think it was maybe like 11 to 12 degrees in the morning. So it was perfect racing conditions actually for the half marathon. You probably couldn't have got a better day. It was us Queenslanders do get a bit touchy if it's any colder than 10 degrees. We don't know what to do with ourselves if it's in the single digits. So it wasn't too cold, but it was probably I'd say ideal for running.
All right, I'll quickly whip through my week. So I came out of hospital Monday lunchtime and I was umming and ahhing. It's like, because no one said don't run. I was like, should I run? Shouldn't I run? And for the first half of the week, it was actually causing me a lot of anxiety for numerous reasons, because it was like I was also trying to work out who I was going to see. Was I going to go to Sydney later in the week for an appointment, or was I just going to wait until I go to Melbourne mid-June? So anyway, I did run that afternoon on the treadmill when I got home. I did 40 minutes at 5-minute Ks, whacked the heart rate monitor on, max heart rate of 129, average of 123. So that was pretty cruisy. Did another 45 minutes on the Tuesday on the treadmill. I just wanted to run at home in case I had any sort of issues, but both these runs were fine. So ran 4-minute 30 Ks on the Tuesday for 45 minutes. And then Wednesday, I went out for my first run outside. Still wanted to do like a midweek long run because I still got plans to pace at Gold Coast. So did 90 minutes and I did have a heart rate spike about 3 minutes in, but it only lasted for like 15 seconds. I could feel like the sort of tight chest and the breathing thing. But because I was only running like 4-minute 30 Ks, like, in the first 3 minutes, it wasn't that big of an issue. And then I didn't have, any problems after that. So I did 90 minutes at 4:09s.
So do you step off the treadie when that happens?
Oh, so no, that was outside.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah.
So the Monday and the Tuesday I ran on the treadmill, but I didn't have any symptoms whatsoever. And then Thursday, and so by this stage, I had booked in, so I'm going to be part of a study down in Melbourne, and that allows me to get all of this various testing done plus see Andre. So I think I get like an ECG, a DEXA scan, an echocardiogram, which is like, I guess, an ultrasound. I do a VO2 max test, I think, on a bike. And I also have like an MRI on my heart where maybe I'm exercising while the MRI is happening. I'm not 100% sure, plus blood tests. So I'm getting a lot of these tests done. And like, it's only going to cost me the flights and a night's accommodation to get down there. And I had made an appointment to go to Sydney on the Friday. But then I found out that it was unlikely that I would be doing a stress test up there. So I'd basically be driving to Sydney 3 hours to sit in the office and go through all of the tests that I'd had done for them to then say, yeah, we need to do a stress test, go home, come back another time. And so I ended up cancelling it. And as I said, the first part of the week, I was just having this like high anxiety about what I should be doing and, whether it was dangerous to run. But then I got to like maybe Thursday afternoon and I went, you know what, stuff it. I'm just going to basically like live my life normally, obviously deal, like if it deteriorates, then I would, address it and change what I'm doing. But unless things get bad, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. maybe just dial back some of the sessions, like not run too hard in the sessions, which if I'm pacing the lead women at Gold Coast, I basically just need to be comfortable running 72-minute half marathon pace. I do, a lot of stuff at that. And the second half of the week, I just felt so much better about everything. So anyway, that brings me to the Thursday run. So I just did my normal like 8.5K at 4:13s. I didn't do any strides. I normally do strides Thursday, but didn't bother. And then I met Rob, a guy that I coach, for a session on Friday afternoon, and it was actually the perfect session. He was doing a 30-minute progression run, and so every 5 minutes the pace gets quicker by about 5 seconds a K, and I thought that's going to be perfect for me because we're going to start at about 350s and work down to in the 320s. So I went 348, 342, 337, 332, 328, 317. Didn't have any issues on this run at all. Average heart rate was like 152. Max was 165. So I think that was sort of the perfect session to ease back into. Then Saturday morning, I went out, did an hour. I did have another little issue. Exactly the same time that I had the issue on the Wednesday morning. So it was exactly 3 minutes in and lasted for about 15 seconds. Like heart rate gets close to 200 and then it settles down.
Are you wearing anything else to track it? You know how you said that they can give you things, or someone said that to me anyway. They give you wearables where you can actually, like, you get a bit of a report about what's happening in your heart. Yeah.
So there's a couple of things now. So Apple Watches, I think some of the Apple Watches now you can do something with your finger when you're experiencing it, and it'll take like a 30-second ECG. Oh, wow. And there's another thing that you can get through, I think the company called like Cardia, that when you're having it, or if you want to check your if you want to get an ECG, you basically put your fingers on this, looks like a metal plate sort of thing, and then it syncs up with your phone and takes like a 30-second. So obviously if you're having an episode and it was lasting for quite a while and you had time to sort of get your phone out, get this thing out and do it, you would get a reading. But the problem is for me now, it's like it's all over so quickly. And as soon as I feel it coming on, I don't stop, but I just really back off, and my heart rate seems to just get into, a normal rhythm again.
Yeah. It'll just be so interesting to know why it's happening.
Yeah. Like I'm not concerned. So I ran 120K all up last week, and I had 30 seconds worth of issues over 2 runs, and so I don't think there's obviously something there, but I'm not too concerned by it. Well, please, I'm not too concerned by it, until I go to Melbourne and get some more testing done.
I know you're saying that, but the way you say, it's only 30 seconds over this, but it's your heart.
Yeah, I know.
It's like it doesn't need much more than 30 seconds.
Yeah, I know, but it's like, well, put it this way, once I made that call about I'm just going to, just keep training and maybe not push quite as hard in sessions, I don't know, I feel much better about it. And look, it's only 3.5 weeks until I go to Melbourne, so it's not that far away. Anyway, so Saturday morning was an hour, 4:09s. Went out for another run that afternoon, same loop, Mulligan's 4:18s for 7.5K. And then Sunday, I met Rob for a long run again. Wanted to go like reasonably long because I'm not going to finish the marathon this year like I did last year. I'll just pace. But I ended up doing 2 hours 15, 32.8K at 4:07s, and felt really good on this run. Had one gel. Wasn't a super hilly. I cut out a few of the hills because Rob was having a bit of a rough day, and we sort of got to maybe like 22K where we would start to add a few more hills. And I said, mate, we're just going to go down to the lake because, I'm not taking you up into those hills because I think you'll cook yourself. So, it ended up being a decent week, 121K.
Yeah, that's pretty good for a bloke with a dodgy heart.
Yeah. So, I'm just going to keep training. And then hopefully be given the all clear when I go to Melbourne, and then do Gold Coast, go to, I don't know, somewhere between halfway and 30K at, I guess 324s. So that's where a lot of my training for the next few weeks will be based. So I'll do one shorter session with the group on a Tuesday night, and then like this Friday, for example, I'm thinking of just going out and doing 10K in 34 minutes as like a tempo. And then maybe on Sunday doing like a 17-minute 5K at the back end of the long run or something like that. We'll do a couple of those between now and Gold Coast anyway. That's all I'll need.
Yeah, the thing that worries me is you having one of these episodes in the race, but knowing that you only get paid if you get past a certain point. And your love of money is so much higher than your love of living. So I don't know whether you're going to have the control to pull back there.
Well, I was thinking about that. If it did happen in the race, all I would and the pattern at the moment is as soon as it happens, if I just dial it like back for like 10, 15 seconds, the heart seems to get back into rhythm. The only time I've had an issue was that first time where I was doing that session of 7-minute tempo, 2-minute hard, and I just kept pushing in that 7-minute tempo, and I got to the end of it and I was just like completely gassed because I didn't just back off, whereas it happened the week after doing 3-minute reps, and I just went from running like low 3-minute Ks to 320s for like 10 or 15 seconds, and then I'm like, okay, I feel normal again.
Yeah.
So, but I'll know more after I go to Melbourne. Testing's on the 22nd of June, and Gold Coast is first weekend in July.
Yeah, we actually ran with Andre on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
So I peppered him with questions, but he didn't give me much because I guess you're his patient or something.
Well, I've never met him.
Nah.
I've had a couple of emails, but it was funny. I got your message going, yeah, Andre didn't seem too concerned, and I got that just as I had finished my like nearly 33K run at 4:07s. I'm like, I'll upload this. There's no issues then.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't. Yeah. He seems. I guess he sees a lot of athletes.
Yeah.
Because he's a sports cardiologist or something. So he sees a lot like you, whereas I'm not sure the hospital cardiologists see a lot of hearts that do the things that yours does.
Yeah. I feel like he's less conservative than hospitals.
Yeah.
All right, let's thank some patrons. Do you want to go first, Perko?
Yeah, sure. So I've got Jacob Graham. So he lives on the far north coast of New South Wales in the Ballina/Byron Bay area. His 5K PB is 22:20, and he's set that at the Ballina Park Run. He's run 68:58 at last year's City of Surf. And fun fact, he works for Cricket New South Wales as the cricket manager for the far north coast. And he has a bachelor's degree in sports development from Griffith University.
Oh, pretty good spot to be living.
Yeah, great spot.
I don't think the running's great in Byron, though, is it? Like, there's not a lot of places to get out to.
To the lighthouse.
Yeah, that's not the best run. That's a bit too much. A bit too much hill for me. So.
Yeah. I've always people go on holiday there. They find like the running sucks for them. Not a good place to train. Like if you've got an event coming up but I mean, I haven't been to Byron since I was like 14 years old. That was a good place, wasn't it? It seems to have cop a pretty bad rap now.
I haven't been there.
It's a good spot. I think it's full of where the celebrities go. I know that's where Chris Hemsworth and all those kind of celebrities used to own properties. So it's a really nice spot. But I definitely agree. It's not probably the best place for running, but that's my patron.
Who you got, Moose?
Chris Foster from Ireland. So he said his 5K, 10-mile half and marathon in 2023. Geez, that's going good. Good start of the year for Chris. 5K, 16:29. He ran that at the Streets of Kilkenny 5K. Ran a 78:26 at Mullingar Half Marathon. 2 hours 57 at London. And he runs for the Mullingar Harriers. We think he recently got engaged and is a lead software engineer at Salesforce. Okay, good on you, Chris.
Congratulations, Chris. Well, I'm pretty sure he got recently engaged. Yeah.
Recently engaged and set all his PBs. What about Perko, missus, wife, kids?
Yes, I got a girlfriend, Emily, so she's also a runner. But yeah, we've only probably started dating, I think it was 6-7 months ago. So yeah, definitely no kids.
No, all right, interesting.
Yeah. She's actually used to train under one of your mates, Moose, Brad, from the running company Sunshine Coast. So I was having breakfast with him on the weekend when we got the message on from Croaks about the podcast.
Oh, that's funny because I got a message from Brad on Saturday morning.
Oh, really?
Saturday morning. He wrote, "Marathons suck. Might need your help, mate." I think he had a pretty bad one.
He can get the expert up next week to do some training with him.
Oh yeah. Interesting.
All right, so I've got Vegard Aslan Sorensen, lives in Mo i Rana, Norway, runs 75.56 at the 2021 Marathon Carouselen. So I think it's like I think that's carousel in Norwegian. And that race was in Bergen, and he ran 2:42 at Berlin last year. Does a lot of skiing, and I think he might be a dad. So thank you to all of those patrons and all the others that we have. And Brady, I think, has just finished recording Road to Gold Coast episode 3. So that should be there tonight or tomorrow morning. And yeah, thanks to the patrons, because those bonus shows only happen with your support.
Perko, we stitched you up there. I was campaigning to get you on that show, and because you're doing Gold Coast, and Brad, you heard me in the chat group.
Well, I was the first one to put it out there.
Yeah, no, Brady's gone with Tim Vincent, who admittedly was a good listen, round 1.
Yeah. No, he's a much better runner, Tim, than me. I think he's got much better PB. So you've made the right choice there.
Yeah, but we're the winners, Moose. We get the milkman right now,
yeah.
Whereas we wouldn't have him if he was on the road to Gold Coast.
Yeah. Brady's always a bit tired too, so he takes shortcuts, and you don't get to hear the full story. At least we get to hear your full story.
All right, let's whip through some running news. So, this morning I woke up to watch the Rabat Diamond League races. So the women's 15, Gudaf Sege, she won in 3:54.03. This was, they went quick early. So it was like 60.6. The pacemaker went through the first lap, and she wasn't far behind. The only one that went with her was Berku Halem, who ended up finishing third in 3:57.66. Second was Frueni Halu in 3:57.65. We had Linden Hall in that race. She finished sixth in 4:03. Either of you guys watch this race?
No, I didn't watch it.
No?
No.
All right.
No.
So did you see any Diamond League at all? See the men's 15?
No, I didn't see. I saw the last 100 meters of the 15.
All right. Well, I'll talk you through this one.
You do it, mate. You are the running man here.
All right. So Jakob Ingebrigsten got the win in 3:32.59, beat Yared Nuguse 3:33.02, and Oli Hoare was third in 3:33.39. So they got out first lap in like 55:56. So it was pretty honest. But then no one really wanted to go with the pace. So then they ran like a 59-second second lap, which, probably meant that the time wasn't going to be ridiculously fast. Once the pacer dropped out, Jakob was just on the front, and there was like, a little gap to Oli, and then there was a little gap to Yared Nuguse. And for that whole last like 300 meters, it stayed like exactly the same. The only difference was in the last like 50 or 60 meters, Nuguse was able to go past Oli. So that's pretty much how that one played out. Women's 800, Mary Mora got the win in 1:58.72. Cat Bisset was second in 2 minutes 0.11, and Sage Herdeklecker was third in 2 minutes 0.62. And just the other result there is El Bakali won the men's steeple in 7:56.68, which was the 8th fastest of all time and only 3 seconds off the world record. He won by like 9 seconds or something. So pretty good for this time of the year. You have to think that world record is under threat given, it's so early in the season.
Pretty good from Oli too. You're talking, this was deep, this field. and it was high end. Like no one's beaten Nuguse for a long time.
Yeah.
Jakob though, I mean, this bloke just can't be beaten.
No,
he's just phenomenal.
Yeah. He did it easy. Like you could sense that he was just doing enough to hold them off, and that's why the gap just always stayed the same. Nuguse probably closed a little bit in the last 50, but the damage was already done.
Have we ever seen anyone so dominant in the 15? I mean, we probably have, but I just didn't watch athletics then.
Well, El Garouge was pretty dominant back in the day. Yeah, and I guess there was a period there where Chariot was pretty dominant, wasn't he?
I don't think for this long though. Yeah,
that's true. But speaking of him, he's bounced back. So there was a LA Grand Prix meet, and he won the men's 1500 in 3:31.47, which is a world-leading time. Reynold Chariot was second in 3:32.01, and Hobbs Kessler, ran 3:32.61, which he was like a high school star and basically didn't go to college, turned pro. He's only just turned 20, and he's coached by Nick Willis's old coach, Ron Warhurst. So, he's one to sort of keep an eye out. Cooper Tier was fourth in 3:32.74. Women's race was won by Dariba Welteji. It was 3:57.84, which was a world-leading time until the Diamond League. A couple of other results from that meet. Lauren Ryan, Aussie girl, she finished second in the 5K in 15:11. Race was won by Emily Lapari, 15:08. And Abdi Hamid Nur won the men's 5K in 13:05. And the only other sort of international result that we'll mention tonight was Abby Caldwell ran 1:58.92 to win an 800 metres at the British Milers Club meet.
Is she Queenslander, Lauren Ryan?
Don't know. I thought she might have been Victorian.
Yeah, I don't think she's Queensland.
No, okay.
Yeah, I thought Victorian.
Maybe, yeah. That's solid there.
It's getting down there, isn't it?
Easily her best result, and I mean, I don't know all the details behind the point stuff, but if you put like another PB, a bit like run another PB, maybe getting the 13 digits, there could be spots start open up.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Kieren, do you want to whip through some of the Noosa results?
Yeah, sure. So in the marathon on the weekend, at Noosa, we had Dave Ridley. He ran 2:25, so that's a really impressive time, considering he would have done it probably all by himself. So he ran outstanding actually for that. Jamie Lacey came second in 2:27, and Hugh Clancy third in 2:35. The women's. Roxanne, you have to help me with that last name, Craig, so I'm not sure how to pronounce that.
Shata Masebi.
Shata Masebi, yeah, Roxanne. That's a stitch up. She won the marathon in 2:54. Local Brisbane legend Jess Willis, she got second in 2:55.17. She was actually winning, but I think she had a bit of difficulty in the late stages of the marathon. But she's one to watch. In the coming months, she's doing Berlin Marathon, and third place was Nikki Curry in 2:55.23. So fairly close for those girls.
I don't know if you noticed this, but when I looked up the results, so Jessica and Nikki, who finished second and third, their net times were actually faster than the winner's time. It's like it took them ages to cross the start line, which I thought was quite weird.
I think I spoke to Jess about this today actually, and she said that there's it could have been a faulty mat or whatever, because she said the girl was it Roxanne clearly finished in front. So I'm not sure what the go was there.
Yeah, but, okay.
I saw it as well, and I thought that was a bit odd. I was trying to work out what could have happened. Yeah.
Half marathon.
Yeah. So half marathon. Had myself come first, 66:20. Second was Alex Harvey, 66:52. So he wasn't far behind. And third place was Jordan McLennan from the Gold Coast Run Co. So, he's looking forward to doing a big race Gold Coast. He's gearing up for a marathon.
Friend of the show, old Jordo. Remember him, Moose?
Yeah, I know Jordo.
Yeah.
He's going all right, isn't he?
Steigen #1. Yeah, it'd be good to see him on the Gold Coast.
I think his best performance is still Steigen 1 his whole career. He definitely hasn't run anything quite near that since then.
Yeah. Women's race?
He's a great bloke. yeah, so women's half, we had Nerissa O'Donnell from Burt Squad. She smashed it. She ran 78.27. So that was a really comeback race for Nerissa. She's had a child, I think it might have been 18 months ago. And yeah, she's bounced back really well with that race. Second place was Beth McKenzie in 79.24. And third place was Brooke Williams in, 81 minutes and 7 seconds. So good work to those girls. And the 10K, Tommy Campbell got first in 31.17. Ryan Kelly second in 32.12. And third place was Annie Day, mate of mine, a fellow Burt Squad member, in 32.15. So I think, I'm not sure of Andy's age, but I think, I don't want to give it away, but I think he's pushing 50. So,
Oof.
you know, to be close to running 32.15 at that age, he's one of those guys that can run 100 Ks at a ridiculously fast pace. And he's also, I think, he hasn't quite run sub 15, but I think he's run like low 15:10s. So yeah, he's one of our star performers in Brisbane. You know, yeah, his age grading will definitely be up there with, you know, some of the best that I know of.
Yeah, wow.
And yeah, females. So female 10K, Ella McCarthy got first in a time of 35.20. Tara Gorman 36.08, and third place was Sailor Donnelly in 37.01.
Nice work, Perko. You can come back anytime while you're reading these results out.
Great job.
Yeah.
Where are you taking this? Sorry, go on.
I said I've listened to the podcast a few times, so yeah, I've just taken a few notes.
Like
where
Warwick.
are you taking it? Where are you taking? Yeah, Warwick. Where are you taking us to, Moose?
We're going to St Anne's for the premier running event of the weekend. Sorry, Perko.
Yeah, no, it's agreed.
This was crazy deep in the men's side. So really big race here. I think you had a lot of guys up and coming, and then you had some pretty seasoned vets as well out there. So look, you've got the top three here, but I'm going to go deeper than that if you're okay with that, Croaks.
All right.
So we got Andre Waring coming in first. He just beat Ed Marks, I think, around the last corner, maybe, or close to. Ran 24.17, Ed 24.20. So third place you had Brett Robinson, who's, I mean, you could say he's our best cross-country runner of the last decade. He was third place, 24.40. Andy Buchanan, who also ran at World Cross, was fourth, 24.41. Dave McNeil, who's been to several Olympics, 24.45 in fifth place. And then you've got guys like Liam Cashin, I think he was national steeplechase bronze. Archie Noakes, who won Albert Park last weekend. Lachlan Hurd, Joel Tobin White. So you're getting down there and you start, like, I think I'm going to reel off that image that Brady sent us, or was it Stats or something? If I can pull it up here. So he loves to go deep on this stuff, real deep, because he likes to make himself feel good about where he came. So here's some stats for you. The 20th place had a PB 29.25. 21st place was 13.58. 22nd, 29.34. 23rd, 29.34. 24th, 29.22. 26th place in this race is a 29.37 guy. That's good, isn't it? Mm. I mean, we'll go down the field. 49th place is a 29.55 guy. That's
which is a 2:14 guy. That would have been better.
51st place, Michael Kernahan's run sub 30. Don't worry about that. Mm. So yeah, it could well be the best cross country field outside of a national cross that's ever been, I reckon.
Yeah.
So that's the men's. In the women's, quite the opposite, to be honest. So none of the top 10 from last year rocked up to for this round. I thought that was crazy. How could you not get any of the top 10 show up the next year? Like, is that injuries?
Who were they?
Last year?
Yeah.
Let me show you. Let me tell you. Last year, Georgia Hansen, Melissa Duncan, Rachel McGuinness, Amy Robertson, Charlie Wilson, Emma Hogan, Deb Bruce, Kate Mason, Sophie Coughlin, Simone Brick. Mm. So, like, I mean, The times, though, are very similar, like in the men's. So even though these girls didn't show up, the 10th place last year was 30:32, and 10th place this year was 30:52. So you could argue that it was like pretty similar in terms of like depth here. It's just a different bunch of ladies. Ali won. So she was off the front pretty early. She basically ran solo the whole way. She ran 28:11, which I was quick to point out to her was quite a lot slower than Georgia Hansen, who ran 27:37 last year. So then Victoria Skaltsonis was 29:04. She was second. She came through the field really well, actually. She was like, well, I'm going to say like 5th to 10th halfway and moved through well. Gemma Maney was third, 29:14. It's good watching the races out there, like jogging around the courses. I really like cross country for that. So yeah, in the teams event, Bendigo, they won. I mean, they should have won. It's a home course.
Men's, men's. In the
men's, yeah, 92 points they had. And look, your race is in Bendigo. How easy is it to get for people to show up? So Box Hill, 113, was second. Glen Huntly, who won the first two rounds, they're 100. Oh, well, maybe they didn't win the second round, but they're 143 points. St. Stephen's in the ladies won, 63. They absolutely flogged it. Glen Huntly second. Ballarat region was third. That's crazy. I don't think Ballarat's had a women's team in the top 3 for years. So good on them. And I've got to say, good on to, like, it would be really easy for someone like Brett Robinson to skip this, coming off a marathon and had a probably break and then just.
He's been a bit sick. He's been a bit sick too. So he's not in tip-top shape. Yeah, so even more reason why he could just skip it.
There's just so much for those guys. Even Ali, to a degree, she's coming off a marathon, same day, to lose by showing up to these races. Like, very little gain, a lot to lose in terms of face. Like, you're expected to win. It's so much more pressure when you're expected to win. So I reckon kudos to them for showing up to the AV series.
Yeah, but it's also the system you've got down there. Like, you know, you're basically turning an individual sport into a team sport in winter, and it's so good. Like, I think I would race more often if I was part of this environment because of that team atmosphere, whereas no other state has it like this.
100%. And the Geelong ladies team have a team for the first time in several years, and the vibe around the tent is just high. It's just fun. Like, the ladies are carpooling down. We've got people from Melbourne. We've got ladies on the bus now travelling. At the finish line, like, everyone's grouped around together. And these girls don't fully know each other that well, but they're bonded as a team already. And it's really cool to watch. And they're running for each other now. Like, they're not running for themselves.
Do you want to do that last result, or do you want to go to this question?
No, we'll talk about it because I want to get Kieren's opinion on this. The Barossa Half Marathon. Look, it's not a big-time race, but 67:09. The real story here, the Cox brothers, Jakob and Riley, finished holding hands again. Now, talk to me about this, Kieren.
I think they're trying to get inside your head, Moose. I think they know you don't like it, so yeah.
Well, that would be me getting inside their head.
yeah. Well, you've done it. You're both in each other's heads.
But it didn't work, Moose. The electronic timing gave one of them a win.
I wonder if they're dishing the prize money to each other here. Or because this is where you put some better prize money out, things get tasty.
Jakob got the win, by the way, on time.
Oh, good. Yeah, he doesn't win a lot over Riley, does he? Riley, though, like, obviously he's real into taking money for promotions and stuff from brands, so I reckon he'd be good at this. I reckon he wouldn't like this, getting the prize money going away from him. So maybe next year, or maybe even the next race, things change. Tara Palm was the first lady in 75:18, so I think she's going down to Launceston half as well to do. So, yeah.
And did you want to give your Shoe Geeks teammate a shout out for winning a fun run?
Oh shit, Nitter. Did he win, did he?
He won the 10.
Oh, I didn't see the results. I
30,
just saw it.
33 something.
I just saw his Strava that said he said relaxed early. But then he didn't get any faster. So I'm not sure. I couldn't work that out. But good on you, Nitter. It's not often Nitter wins races.
All right, let's move on to listener question. And I've given it to you this week, Kieren.
Okay, so the listener question is, how important would you rate a hilly long run for a flat marathon? So I can't, as I said, probably have a much of an opinion on this because most of my long runs are fairly flat. So, but if I was to give it some advice, I do think they definitely have their place. The hilly long run, they help build strength and kind of, help use different muscles than what you might just use just constantly running on flat. So I think they're very important in your marathon training block. But then again, I think when I ran my marathon, I definitely did not do any hilly marathon training. I ran 2:17. So I think ideally, if you can do them, do some, but I don't think you have to do them if you're going to be running a flat marathon. I wouldn't lose too much sleep if you just did flat, but I'll see what Moose has to say about it.
Well, mate, you're a sub 29 man. Maybe you need some hills to get your marathon down a bit.
Yeah, well, I might have to hit you up, Moose, for some tips then on the hills. I know you like to do your hilly long runs, so.
Yeah, well, don't follow me anymore. Maybe go back and look at Strava from a few years ago. But no, I think I like hills earlier in the block, and then I like transitioning to flatter stuff as we get towards the race. So like maybe 8 to 10 weeks out, so that 20 to 10 weeks out, I want you on a hilly long run every week, basically. And then outside of that time, hilly long runs every week. And then when you get to the last sort of 8 to 10 weeks, I'll almost alternate between a fast flat run and another hilly run. So I still think they play a big part in it, but I don't think they need to be done every week. And I think there's sort of more specific stuff that can get done as you work your way to race day, because there's a real difference between being tired running 4:30s on hills and being tired but having to turn your legs over running 3:30s, if that's what you're aiming for. It's a very different sort of skill set, and you're using different muscles to do that. So like there's different muscles that are working at those paces. You've got a different range of motion. Things are working physiologically different that need conditioning to get you ready for race day. And so running 4:30s over hills doesn't do that. It builds other things like aerobic strength, which is what we really want. It builds you to become more efficient at your using fuel. But as you get towards race day, we need to condition the neuromuscular system, and the musculoskeletal system as well, just to be more rhythmic for the pace you need.
Yeah, I agree, Moose, in terms of if you're doing like marathon, like long reps at marathon pace as part of like a long run, you want that to be on a flat. But I still think there's a place because often you'll do that towards the back end of a long run. So I still like sometimes making the first half of your long run over some hills, because I find it just beats the legs up a little bit more. So then when you get onto the flat to do the marathon pace stuff, it sort of replicates a little bit more how you're feeling towards the back end of the marathon. So you're running at marathon pace on probably more tired legs by having done a few hills in the first hour and a half. So I still think there's a place for that.
Yep. Yeah. I think generally speaking, people don't run enough hills. That's what I've noticed across the board.
So thanks to S Pato for that question. And Moose, you got a moose on the loose or purchase of the week?
Brady actually has alerted me to a moose on the loose. He got real upset when someone told him that they would have caught him if there was another K in the race on Saturday. So anyone ever said that to you, Kieren?
Yeah, I said to that Kieren up at Sydney 10, I said if it was another 60K, I would have had him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably would have, folks. unless the heart gave out first, Croaks. I don't
true.
know how long the heart goes for.
Yeah, well, see, I actually reckon my run was pretty good in Sydney 10 with a dodgy heart.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's a minute or so on that. So yeah, I think if we are, I think the poor listeners, if they had the advice about the dodgy heart for the event, there would have been some different predictions potentially on the time.
Has anybody said that to you before?
Not that I can remember, but yeah, I think that's good chat actually. Yeah, I think that definitely would have gotten Brady's head in tonight.
I remember finishing Great Ocean Road Marathon one year, and it was like 10 minutes in front, maybe even more, 10 minutes or more in front of this bloke who crossed the line, and my mate heard him say, "Oh, I reckon if it was Hillier, I would have won that." That was good value later on when I was on the piss.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's it, Moose. Don't want to go any harder on that?
I'm pretty happy with that. Pretty happy with that little Brady stitch up. And
any more questions for Perko before we sort of let him go?
How good do you reckon you're going to be? What's your top limit? Don't say the sky's the limit, mate. I want to know how good you think you could really be.
Yeah, I haven't really thought too deep about it, like how good I can be. My goal really is just to keep improving each year, and ideally, maybe 2:14 would be great one day. Get near Moose's time. Yeah, but honestly, I think my main focus when I go to racing is just to get better each race and try and get better each year. So yeah, I'm 30 years old now, so hopefully there's still some time. The fact that I've started running later in life, there's a bit of time left to drop those times down. So I want to try and do some track work maybe next year, and see if I can get close to that 5K PB again, and potentially get some faster times. But yeah, with the marathon, I think there's probably a couple of minutes I can hopefully shave off the next year or two.
Yeah, I reckon plenty of time.
Yeah, I'm backing you in. I reckon you run well on the roads, definitely better than the track, and it seems like you're built well for a marathoner too. Like, I don't know, just handle the training volume with those big bones.
Yeah, I love it how Moose talks me up for being strong and stuff, because when I go to work each day, there's some big units in the army, and I'm one of the small guys. So I think it's hilarious in the running scene that I'm seen as big and strong because I'm 70 kilos. Because I said that's basically the lightest guy on base, almost, kicking around in the army.
But I think there used to be a saying. I think Deke used to say it, like, a fit big man will always beat a fit small man. Like, it's the same sort of thing, that like if you can handle the training and you've got that strength, like that will often help you the back end of the marathon. I'm sure, like, I've definitely heard that saying before, and I think Deke might have said it, because Deke was obviously, like, Deke wasn't a small guy.
Tree trunks for legs.
Yeah.
One more thing, I forgot to tell the story that Matt Hansen told me. He said you were warming up one time when you were with the Pert squad, and someone was running towards you, and something happened, and you turned into a maniac, and you tried to fight some guy, and you ran like you were really aggressive. Tell us about that.
That's definitely not what happened. I think this is actually a funny story. So one time I was out on a run with Adam Fogg, great runner, and Matt Hansen, and they were going through this bit of phase, as juveniles do, of just screaming in whoever they walk past in the morning's face, morning brother. So they do that every basically run I'd go on, and it used to shit me off actually, but you couldn't tell those guys back in the days. Foggy was a bit of a superstar, so he had these bit of swag on, and one day I think Hanso and Foggy, we came around this corner, and there was these three big 100+ kilo footy boys, and I think Foggy decided to scream in their face at 5:30 in the morning, like, morning brother, in pitch black, and these boys yell out to us, you wait till you come back, we'll be waiting for you. So I think they thought nothing of it. Then about an hour or so maybe later, less, maybe 45 minutes later, we've come back on our return journey, and sure as shit, we came back and these boys are waiting for us. And Foggy, these three guys I was with, Sam Rose, Foggy, and Matt Hansen, they all turned to custard and basically tried to dodge these guys, and I think Foggy and Sam got around them. by sidestepping, and then Matt Hansen was cornered and had this big dude, big 110 kilo guy in his face about to punch his lights, and I kind of had to stand up for Matty and basically take the brunt of this guy. Nothing happened, but I had to kind of stand up to him and de-escalate a bit so Matty could get out, because otherwise I think he was about to get his lights punched out for Matty. He was only about 16 or 17 at the time, but I think it was a good lesson for him to, watch out who you gob off to. I think I've learned that being in the army, you don't gob off to people who are bigger than you and stronger than you. So I think that's a good life lesson for him. But
good man, Perko. Good man. That would have pissed me off too if I was running with people and they were doing that. I'd just be like, oh, grow up.
It went for about a year. Those guys just, screaming at the top of their voice at 5 a.m. in the morning in New Farm Park, morning, brother. So yeah, that's a good story to finish off with. Yeah,
I like that. That would have been good for him to probably learn a stronger lesson, I reckon, based off that story.
I thought about that, but I'd probably, I don't want to be known as the guy in the story as a guy who just let him get bashed. So I thought I better step up and do the right thing and save Matty from getting his lights punched out.
Not the big army boy.
No, I would have been no good. I would have been no good as well. I just wanted to get Matty out there, and then we all ran away actually. So yeah, but we saw those guys actually, about every week. I think they'd run the same or walk the same course as us because they were walking. So we saw him plenty of times, and I think all the boys' heads would go down every time we saw him for the next year or so, every Wednesday morning. So yeah.
Very good.
Us runners aren't the most toughest bunch, I think.
Not Queenslanders. Down this way we are.
Are you? Okay.
Well, Perko, thank you so much for tonight. It's been great sort of hearing a bit about you and your running, and all the best for Gold Coast. We might even get you back on, a couple of weeks out from Gold Coast to see how you're tracking.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. Great idea, Croaks.
And Moose, what do you got coming up? Going to Noosa?
Yeah, going to Noosa. It's going to be great. Hope the weather's good up there, Perko, is it?
Oh, to be honest, it's been absolutely perfect up in Queensland. Anyone in Queensland at the moment, we've had no clouds in the sky for the last week, and it's big perfect temperatures. So mid-20s during the day and about low 10s at night. No clouds in the sky. So Moose, wow. I hope it's good for you when you come up here.
Thanks, mate. If you feel like getting away from Brisbane, I'll be there on the bike with you.
No, I'll try to get up for you.
Or I'll just whip through a couple of things from a podcast point of view. The Mottram interview part 2 will be coming on the end of this. Road to Gold Coast episode 3 will be out tonight or tomorrow. The monthly is going to happen next week with Brady, Toby and Christian. We've got Diamond League. The Roman Florence meet is on the 2nd of June, which I know Stewie's running the 5K. New South Wales Cross Country Relays. And, shout out to the Wollongong Running Festival, which I was going down to do this weekend, but I've had to obviously pull out with the heart stuff. But, just a shout out to Tunners, the race director. I hope it all goes well. And last thing, Gold Coast live show, Moose. It's happening. Lululemon, they're the sponsors. It's a free event for the public, and tickets will be made available, shortly. So,
and it looks good. It looks really good. It's going to be heaps of fun.
Yeah, big venue. Tickets will be made available. Patreons get first crack at it, and then it'll be made open to the public after that.
Venue much closer to the surfers, so you won't have to get on a train or anything. You'll just be able to walk from surfers, and very good venue. Also going to be done got a bit of event people doing it. So it's going to be top notch.
May or may not be goodie bags. Can't confirm yet.
Yeah, they'll be good goodie bags if they're coming from that company.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Did you ask me something? I just had my AirPods.
No, mate, we're just plugging our Gold Coast live show. Are you going to come?
Yeah, no, I'll come. I'll be there. Is there free food?
Yeah, it's a free event. Sunday Arvo.
Croaks ain't shouting your food. Maybe
free beers. I'll be there for sure.
Maybe Zach will.
Nice. All right. Well, that rounds out episode 291. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week with another guest host. But all the best, Perko, with the Gold Coast prep, and we'll get you back on in 2-3 weeks maybe.
All right. Thank you.
See you, mate.
Thank you.
Just show love to everyone you meet. Doesn't matter if it don't come back.
We'll go to the OAC stuff now, Craig. So, like, you're the head coach, OAC Oceania. I think you want to rename it to Down Under. Announced in Feb, March, Ben Buckingham, Claudia Hollingsworth. We'll go through all the names in a second, but how long was it in the works before the announcement? Because this is a big deal for Australia. Like, we haven't really seen. We've watched what they've done in Boulder.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting for us, us down here. So it would have been at least 18 months. The conversations and so my contract to get this team up and going was nearly 2 years ago. So it's been something that's been in the pipeline for a long time. We got postponed a little bit due to the setback in the Tokyo Olympics 2020 to 2021. And then once those Olympics were out of the way, those conversations really started to ramp up in terms of what this could look like in Australia. So for us and for me, the first thing to do was to set the foundation up right in Melbourne, because our biggest challenge or barrier to success of a team like this is, well, there's a number of them, but ultimately no one believes that something like this would ever happen in Australia. So actually having it set up and having a facility, a home base in Richmond, the gym set up, the partnerships in place, and having the infrastructure there so that when a conversation with an athlete was to happen, it could actually happen on site, and it could happen in an environment where they could actually see it was tangible. They could touch and feel what was actually going to happen, because they've seen it in the US with Dayton's crew and the US group and everything else. And if we just have it as a conversation, gentlemen, around like this, that, yeah, we're going to do this OAC thing, we're going to set it up here, and everyone just goes, yeah, whatever. But if they actually come in and see it and can touch and feel and live it and breathe it and see the investment and everything else, that makes it real for them. So the first 6 to 12 months, to be honest, was setting that up and actually getting our sort of team booklet, I suppose. So what the goals are, what we want to do, what we're going to live by, how we're going to go about it, the gym space, the partnerships and all of that sort of stuff. It's like setting up a business. You got to get the foundation right first. And then you can start having conversations with athletes around what that's going to look like for them.
Yeah. With the OAC, like, where's the balance in trying to sign athletes that are quite already established, hunting for championship medals versus ones that you're developing? Because at the moment it seems a bit more of a developmental squad in terms of there's probably not many there that are looking to, make, win medals at world championships. So where's the balance there?
It's an interesting balance. Obviously, Ben Buckingham is one of the mature athletes that come across, and we have some really exciting hopes for him over the next 6 to 12 to 18 months going into World Champs this year, and then obviously Paris next year. So I don't want to say we're a development group and we're looking at athletes only, in the early stages of their career that have no hopes of making finals at World Champs, because Ben's going to buck that trend, excuse the pun, in terms of what we were hoping for him. But ultimately, this is a group of younger athletes that are coming into to take a long-term approach to being successful in the sport of international track and field. We're pretty fortunate in 2026, the Commonwealth Games in Melbourne, or regional Victoria, which is a big target for us. And then obviously 2032 in Brisbane, 9 years from now, having the Olympics is also a major focus for us. So very difficult to select athletes at this point that you think are going to win medals in Brisbane in 9 years from now, because there's so much time that can go between now and then. But it's about building a really good, solid development team to target short-term goals with the vision to achieve longer-term greatness over the next 5 to 10 years. We're in a really fortunate position that the US model, the team over there, is shouldering a lot of the expectation for international success at the moment. And I said that on the podcast as well. But I don't think even when they set their team up 3 years ago, they would have imagined how quickly that success has come. And even chatting with Oli over there, when he first signed with the OAC and with Dayton, he didn't know much about On at all as a brand. He was taking a punt with Dayton and the brand in terms of what they were prepared to do and what the vision for that program was. And then it just came together really quickly for them. And that may not be what happens in Australia. We're well aware that we've got different challenges here. But what we are and what we have done in the last 18 months is set up a foundation for long-term success with this team. And the recruitment of athletes is looking at both the developments. Obviously, Claudia's 18. She's quite young in terms of her experience in the sport of track and field. But I honestly feel that in the next 2 or 3 years, she will make senior teams. In fact, she already has last year made the World Championship team for the Open 800. But we're in no rush with her. So she's in year 12 this year. She will spend most of her time at school doing what she needs to do to finish that off. And then beyond that, 2024 and moving forward, we'll develop her slowly and maturely into the international athlete, into the superstar I think she will become. We don't want to rush that. But we're also looking at that college system as well in terms of what athletes are in there. We've got a huge pipeline of talent in the college system at the moment. In middle distance in particular, we're having lots of conversations. In fact, I had one just prior to jumping on this with you guys, with a young female over there who's exiting this year. And we've got 3 boys that we're talking to at the moment that are all exiting in July, August this year, which we hope to come back to Melbourne to be part of this team. And again, for them, it's understanding that now there is an option for them to come home. And up until this year, that hasn't been there, unless they were, going to come home and take a punt that they could get this done on their own, which is very rare in Australia. Australia has never been an option for them. So trying to cross that barrier and actually have that chat and get them to understand and believe that it can be done from here is part of this process. And we're under no illusions that that's going to take some time. And building this team is going to take a year or two to get it up to a really good point where we can be competitive internationally. But we're well on the way.
Is OOC Oceania open to signing international athletes? Because one, I guess, advantage that the US group have is they've got all of those college athletes coming from all different countries, and they're picking, I guess, the best college athletes who, if you're winning, NCAA championships, you're pretty much world class these days. So they're picking, Spanish people, the NCAA. Would you potentially look at bringing top US athletes down here to train to be part of your squad?
Yes, we would. Yeah. Ironically, the OAC US team was built on 2 Oceania athletes, or 3. So you had Oli Hoare, Beamish, or Klecker, obviously, is US. But I had this joke with Dathan all the time, just give me my fucking athletes back.
Yeah.
And we'd all be It's like, no, mate. So, look, yes, it's short. We're open to obviously looking at athletes from all over the world. The OAC ecosystem, if you want to call it that, is truly global. We've got the US team. There's a team in Europe now, and then we've got the team down here in Oceania. And all 3 teams, albeit don't follow the same training model because we've all got different coaches in terms of who's guiding each of those respective teams. But we all speak, the 3 coaches, we speak monthly. We talk about programs. My guys are over in the US at the moment working with Dathan and Ollie and Sage and the crew over there, learning, upskilling, developing, and experiencing that. And then they're going to head over into Europe and up into St. Moritz and work with Thomas, who's the coach of the European team over there. And then hopefully this summer we'll have some of the US-based athletes, more specifically some of the Australian guys, hopefully coming back to train in Melbourne and be a part of our summer over here. So once it all gets up and going, it's going to be this really cool cycle of opportunity for athletes to travel internationally to the various different locations of the OAC and work in with what they need to do at particular times of the year to be competitive.
Cool. Craig, when we had Ollie on the show, I made comment about the culture that they seem to have developed. And obviously you get to start fresh, but you can still, I'm sure, talk to Dathan and work with him. But you get this sense that they would all take a bullet for Dathan. They seem to just adore and love him, trust in it. And obviously when they see the results, it helps. But when you start fresh, do you feel a bit of pressure? And I guess how important is it to build that culture from day one with your crew?
It's really important, and there's no answer to how you do that. It's a question that gets asked all the time. How do you build culture? It's one of those things you've got to feel out as you go. You've got to have morals and integrities that you sort of stand by and live by, and be strong enough to enforce them on the group and on yourself. More importantly, to create that sort of leadership, I suppose, in regards to being the leader of this team. But selection of athletes is really important also. We're not just going in to select the best athlete. The athletes have to fit the model of what we're looking for. They have to be able to be a part of a team. Like, we've had several conversations with athletes in the early days that we didn't feel would fit the model, that had potentially jumped from one college to another for various reasons. And there were a few red flags along the way, and would have been a lot easier to say, yeah, we'll take them to build this team. But ultimately, you have to look longer term at what the dynamic of the team, what you want it to become, and who those athletes are to make up that model. And one of the processes for me is to really engage with our athletes in the team and actually have them as leaders of this group. And the OAC Down Under team, or Oceania team, the 5 athletes that we've got, the 4 athletes that we've got at the moment are the foundation members of this team. They're the ones that are going to set the culture for this group moving forward. And whether we've got lucky or whether we did a really good job in actually bringing these guys on is hard to know, but they are truly a family in terms of the way they get on, the support they have for each other. When Tess and Claudia ran the Oceania Championships last year to earn points to try to qualify for the World Championships in Oregon, Tess really needed to win the 800. This is one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in coaching, actually, was that Tess really needed to win the 800. Claudia really wanted to win the 800, but didn't need to win because Tess needed more points. Claudia already had enough points to get in. So how do you tell 2 highly competitive young females to go and race, but Tess, we really need you to win, but Claudia, so don't beat her, sort of thing. And anyway, so we let them go out there and have that race, gave them both their instructions in terms of how I thought they should best run it, but giving them both the best chance to win and letting them compete. And ultimately, Tess ended up winning. And the happiest person on the track that moment was actually Claudia, because she got to have one of her IEC teammates join her in the World Championship team. Not because of any other reason than she was just proud that Tess was able to beat her fair and square in a head-to-head battle. And I think when you can build that dynamic and that group, that if it's not your day, but it's your teammates' day and you can be really, really happy for them, I think that's really important. That was something that was lacking in my time in sport, there was too much negativity towards other people's success. And that's just not what this is about for us. It's about building the team, building a group of people that support each other through the good and the tough times, because I promise you in track and field, there's more tough times than there are good times. And it's a lot easier if you've got people that are supporting you through it. And that's a big part of building this team.
Now that you're a coach, how would you describe your coaching philosophy?
It's a shit question. People ask me this all the time. And that is...
Come on, Croaks.
You explained what that question means.
All right. I'll rephrase it. So as a coach now, have you? And you had 3 main coaches at your time as an athlete? Have you taken bits and pieces from each of those and meshed them together, or have you gone and basically done sort of restudied in a way and gone completely left of that? Is that a better question?
Sort of.
Still a shit question if you ask me.
I think I answered this very early on in the other piece, but I would, as I said, very lucky to have the 3 different personalities, coaching styles, techniques, beliefs, and values, I suppose, across all of my career. And yes, you do take lessons and learnings from all of them. And you do, whether you know it or not, start to implement them into your own coaching beliefs and strategies around how you look after your athletes. But ultimately, you've got to take your own experience and your own beliefs and your own knowledge and studies and research and start to put it into a model that you're going to use going forward. And I think coaching these days is a bit different to what it was. There's so much information around what type of training you can do, altitude, periodization, all of that sort of stuff. There's almost an overload of information. But one of the biggest things for me is understanding the athlete that you're coaching. You've got to actually have a really good relationship with the athlete that you're coaching. And you've got to understand what they need and why they need it, and understand their life and what triggers them and what doesn't. This generation of athlete is very different to my generation and even the generation before my time. They're not just going to do what you tell them. They want to know why. They want to understand why. They want to know what the future looks like. They want to discuss what training is going to be. And so you've got to be prepared to have all those conversations and actually be a little bit ahead of where their psychology or where their minds are at. So it's the training itself is not rocket science in terms of what you've got to give them on a weekly basis or on a fortnightly basis, depending on how you structure that. But the delivery of the training and the environment you create is so important. And that's where you'll see it in America now and now in Oceania with the OAC team. This team model is becoming more and more prominent because of that environment and this need for athletes to be in a social setting and have that sort of team support around them. The actual training, I can go onto the internet now and Google Dathan's training and just chuck that into Training Peaks and give it to the athletes and they can go and do it. But it doesn't mean they're going to run well. It's how you balance it all in and how you engage with your athletes and build that relationship with them and the trust that you have with them. That's the most important thing. So your original question, coaching philosophy, it's different for different athletes. It has to be now. But the most important thing is the relationship that you have with your athletes and the communication that you have and building that trust between coach and athlete so that you can openly discuss the demands of what this sport is.
So they're all in the same house, Craig? Is that what you said? Like they live together in that whole team kind of vibe?
No, not in Melbourne, no. So they've all got their own houses in Melbourne. We're looking at the moment in terms of what that looks like for athletes coming back from college and international athletes coming in as to where we'd house them. Because one of the big barriers for us in Melbourne is bloody expensive. Yeah. Cost of living here is really high. And in reality, the contracts that track and field athletes get, it makes it really hard to actually have that contract and then expect to pay rent or buy a house or do whatever. So one of the things we're looking at is how we manage and overcome all of that. But at the moment, all of the athletes are living individually in their own houses in Melbourne. They're all staying together in Boulder at the moment. They're on a training camp, so they're all in together. But interestingly, in the US, the US team all live independent as well. But they all come together and train in the one gymnasium and one headquarters where they go out and do their respective sessions from there.
Yeah. I think I'm done, Craig. So we're peppered in with so many questions. You got anything to finish off?
I've got a couple more. Hopefully they're not shit questions.
You've only got about 5 minutes. Tops.
Yeah, all right. So does somebody oversee, so you've got the Oceania group, the US group, and the Europe group. Does somebody oversee all three? And have there been discussions about the optimal amount of athletes in a squad? Like, where does it get to, like, how many is too many?
So first point to the question, yes, Steve DeCloker is the global head of the OAC. So he is in charge of all three teams. He's based in Portland in America. He's got a long history in track and field and setting up these sort of teams. He's an absolute legend, 100% backing all of the programs to be, world leading programs over the next 5 to 10 years. Number of athletes, interestingly, the US team has just brought on an assistant coach. So Dathan has just brought on an assistant coach to help assist him with the management of his team. I don't know exactly how many he's got, but he'd be 16 maybe athletes in his team at a guess. In terms of our team, we would like to get up to 8 in the next 12 months. We're at 5 now. And as I said, we're looking at 3 boys over the next few months. So we'll get there quite comfortably either by the end of this year or halfway through next year, and then ultimately grow up to 12 in the next 4 years. And then at that point, it becomes, a conversation around, do you go again and what does that look like? But I think the sweet spot at the moment is between 8 and 12 for us in Australia. Yeah. Dathan's grown beyond that and has now got assistants to help him with that.
And another coaching question. I know the US guys, like following their Strava and stuff like that, like they're a big fan of the fast long run, which probably wasn't as big when you were competing. Are you a fan of a fast, solid long run?
Well, it depends how you look at it. They do generally 2 proper workouts a week and then a strong long run, where in Australia we would do 3 workouts and an easy long run. So if you replace one of the workouts with a long run and make it a tempo, then it almost is the same thing. They just, so the trap that you fall into, and I've done this before, and lots of people looking at what the US guys would be doing and how Dathan goes about it over there. They live in Boulder at 1,600 meters above sea level. They've already got that advantage over those people living not at sea level in regards to their aerobic ability and all of that sort of stuff. So can they actually tolerate 3 hard workouts a week in a long run? Long term, probably not. When you're living at altitude and things, you've got to understand that the recovery that's required and the adaptation to all of that sort of stuff. And so they're operating on a slightly different schedule to everyone else, and it's clearly working for them. But if we tried in Melbourne to operate on that sort of model, we may not get the same benefits as they would be because they're at a mile high. So I like what they do over there. Clearly it works. But that's a generalization. Someone like a Sage versus someone like an Oli or a Yared, or they all do different stuff. Like Dathan is phenomenal at managing his athletes individually in regards to what they need. In fact, it was unbelievable experience for me to go over there and actually see what he's doing on a daily basis to oversee. Like he'll have his male athletes start at one time and his females at another, and the milers do this and the younger and the shorter ones do that. And then he's got Helen doing the marathon stuff. So it's a full-time gig once you're getting up to that size and that scale and that personal nature in terms of what's required for each of those athletes.
Yeah. And last question, which I should have asked you this during your own running. How much running are you doing now? And if you had to go down and run an all-out 5K, what would you run right now?
I don't do much running. I run two or three times a week for 20 or 30 minutes. If I was to run 5K, I'd be pleasantly surprised if I could run 20 minutes. 4-minute Ks would be working, I would think. I
reckon you'd still smash that. Very modest.
That easy. Craig, thank you so much for your time. It's been a long interview. We know you're a busy man. I know our listeners are going to really enjoy hearing some of those stories, and good luck in your role now, OAC Oceania. We really appreciate the support of On. They've sponsored a couple of episodes. Croaks is a big fan of the Cloud Monster, does all his Ks in that shoe. And we can't wait to sit back and just watch what the athletes do under your guidance.
It's a pleasure, and make sure you let Julian know I was disappointed he wasn't here.
He still doesn't think you know his name. He reckons he ran all these relays when you're at Geelong, and he doesn't know what he looks like. You don't know who he is. What he looks like,
but I know that Julian is someone that works on this podcast. So I was hoping that he would be here so I could put a face to the name.
Well, Brady was concerned that you didn't know him, even though that you ran for Geelong a couple of seasons together.
Jallis Park one
year. If I got up my Google search thing, it was Brady last night, so I knew who I was looking at on.
You high-fived me. I had to chase down Jeff Risley, remember? Jallis Park Relays. Yeah. Didn't catch him either.
Oh, well, yes. Well,
you told me he wasn't too good at the longer distances, and I should be able to catch him, but that didn't happen. But thank you for your time. It's been fun to
didn't try hard enough. All right.
Yeah. See
no
you,
problem,
Craig.
Gentlemen. See you later.
See you, Craig. Thank you.
Mate. Thanks for that.
Enter the 2023 Gold Coast Marathon now and run your best race this July. 60% of runners achieve a PB at this event, and you can too. Head to goldcoastmarathon.com.au to enter now.